Yes, that's right. The Survivor Know-It-Alls are back after episode 4 of
Woo!
Survivor Kaoh Rong. Steven, are you okay? Steven, are you
Woo!
with us?
Oh my
Steven,
God.
are you with us? Stay with us, Steven. Stay with us. Hold on, I need a drink.
That's the most improv I'm gonna do the whole. Yeah. What an episode! What a crazy episode! So filled with drama. I legitimately got teary-eyed, Rob. I literally got
crying?
teary-eyed. I wasn't weeping, but you know me. I'm always weeping.
We can't afford you to
I'm
lose
always
the
crying.
moisture.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was getting teary when, all of it. Not when they took Caleb out and with the swelling orchestrations, but like whoever scored that, like they deserve a fishy. But just when everyone's like passing out and like everyone's getting teary and like everyone's freaking out and Jeff's kind of keeping it together, but you can tell he's like pretty nervous. Like that's freaking gold. You don't see that on Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, it was like one of those ER disaster episodes where everything is happening all at once, and they're like, "All right, we got somebody over here." It was like triage.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like I couldn't believe it. It's like and like it's like literally every time, just as they got the situation stabilized, like that someone else is going down. And like we all knew someone was getting medevac this week, but just the chaos of how many people really seem to be in dire medical health. You're like, they're all going down. This is it. This is it for the show.
Yeah, super dramatic night on Survivor. Jeff Probst had billed it during the week as the most dramatic show they ever did. I think that's probably an accurate statement.
I mean, the only other one would be Michael falling in the fire. They didn't really have that on camera.
Yeah. So this was really a lot more of it was basically 20 minutes of this, and it was really, very gripping television to watch. We will talk about that on a night when probably there is the least amount of strategy in one of these recaps, probably going back to the Brandon Hance vote out / quit / meltdown back in Caramoan, Stephen.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily agree that there's the least amount of strategy. I just think it was very straightforward strategy, And I think there's also the possibility that we can talk about that Scott and Jason maybe didn't throw the challenge, but like let the challenge fail. So I think there were some strategic moves here. It wasn't like a total, strategic desert.
I think it was probably as close to a strategic desert as we've ever had on Survivor Know-It-Alls. But there is stuff to unpack, as always. So we want to get your questions in live, of course. Hashtag RHAP. Stephen and I are going to be taking your questions along the way. Tomorrow, Stephen's longtime friend Aris will be joining me in person to recap the episode.
I love Aris.
Now, Aris was there on the beach, or was there, at least it was his tribe, somebody was medevaced out of his game back in Panama. Very different circumstances, but we will talk with Aris about that and much more.
There's really no better... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and also Jessica Leese, our amazing race expert, will be joining us tomorrow for the voicemail show, in addition to not one but two Survivor exit interviews.
I was just going to say, like, they're really the two diametric spectrums of, like, where you want to be when you're medevac. The worst is poop caught in stomach, and the best is, like, I won a challenge, and then, like, I collapsed from giving too much to the game. Like, Caleb may have, like, the best medevac ever in terms of just, like, he, like, rolls the ball up, pulls out the victory, and falls over. And Bruce probably has the worst.
Were you surprised with Caleb that they made the call so quickly that he would not be returning to the game?
Yeah, I mean, I guess once they got the chopper, but like, something must have been going on with his blood pressure, right? He must have really been like going down. I mean, the comparison obviously is Russ Swan, where it was a similar thing where they had to pull him to give him like the fluids he needed. I mean, this had to be more extreme than that, and I'm really curious to hear what Jeff has to say about it tomorrow, because they didn't get a chopper that time. Like, what is the chopper doing that they can't do there? There's got to be like that's pretty nuts.
Well, I think at the point where he's not responding to the treatment that they're administering on the beach, I think that's where they bring the chopper in to either take him to a hospital. And I'm not sure exactly if you even know, what the travel time is from the hospital. I've heard that from others, Liz, that they have to go to the capital of Cambodia. Do you have any sort of idea of the logistics of that?
So there's a city. I mean, I'm sure like for Liz, I know that she had to get like surgery, right? Because she had like a staph infection. So she probably had to go to like a really big hospital in Phnom Penh, the capital, which is like kind of far away. But there's like a city that's not too far. It would have been a pretty quick chopper ride. Like, I don't know. choppers are fast, half hour, I have no idea. But that would probably have had basic medical care.
Because I've always thought that the typical survivor protocol is if you have to miss a tribal council, then they're going to pull you from the game. But I feel like that in the past, even like in the Russell Swan evacuation, they took Russell Swan from the game, but they didn't say Russell Swan is out. They told both the tribes, okay, come to tribal council tonight and we'll let you know what's going on with Russell Swan. I thought that was interesting in this instance, that either it was so serious what was going on with Caleb, or maybe there's been some sort of a change to the rules.
Yeah, I don't think anyone has ever left the game, like physically been removed from the beach and then been allowed to return in any, like, ever.
I feel like that there's been times when people have been bandaged up and brought back into the game. I'd be hard pressed to come up with that example off the top of my head.
But I mean, the closest is like Missy, right? On Survivor.
Well, she didn't even ever leave the beach.
Yeah, she had a splint. But
I do feel like there are times when they say, okay, we're going to keep this person behind, or we're going to look at this person, and it's sort of like up in the air whether or not they're going, much like what Jennifer said at Tribal Council a couple of weeks ago. But it's up in the air as to whether or not they're going to come back, and there's a lot of like hand-wringing back at camp. I don't know, are they coming back? Are they not coming back? This was just straight out, okay, he's done. Say goodbye to Caleb. We're pulling him.
Once you're in the chopper, you're gone.
You're gone.
It's never happened before.
Yeah. So a huge dramatic moment. Everything with Caleb. I mean, just to have three people at once.
And one from each tribe.
Yeah. One from each tribe. It's really uncanny how that ultimately broke down. Now, Stephen, did you feel like that the challenge? I've been reading from people that the challenge was. Was the challenge itself, was there anything in the design of what they were doing that seemed like this was going to be a problem?
Are you saying people are saying they should have known the challenge was going to be like this?
Yeah, I've seen
people are infuriating. People, stop it. Stop this. Like after, I mean, who am I? I'm just about to indict myself. After the fact, it's easy to say what you should have done, which is of course the entire premise of this podcast. After the fact, it's easy to say what you should have done. Mm-hmm. But yeah, of course, afterwards, you're like, oh my gosh, that challenge, obviously. But they could have easily run that challenge, and this wouldn't have happened. I mean, it's not so obvious until you see it that like having a digging challenge is going to gas out people so brutally. Of course, now that we've seen it, we can say, well, digging and you're in the sand and it's so hot. So like, yeah, we know now, but I totally disagree with that. I thought, there's no way to know. We hear all the time about how Survivor's not hard enough, and then suddenly there's this insanely brutal challenge. The medical team and the production team respond perfectly. Their act is so together. They do this like breathtaking, triage caretaking of 3 contestants, and pull one from the game. And then people are like, oh, they should have known. No, there's no way you can know. It's like splitting the votes. There's just no way you can know in advance.
I agree. There was nothing about this challenge where going in, if you would have looked at this challenge and said, oh, wow, this is a brutal challenge. I could never do this. I mean, I'm sure that when the Dream Team ran this challenge, the part of finding the bags full of balls, how long could it have taken when the Dream Team ultimately did it? Now, maybe they're fully hydrated, and then maybe the conditions had been so bad back at camp because all 3 teams struggled for, 45 minutes had elapsed. But I don't think that there's anything inherently about, find some bags of balls in a sand circle that sounds like it's going to be excruciating.
Yeah, and Dalton Ross tweeted, how digging is like shockingly exhausting, and then you don't really just sitting in that baking sun, is totally exhausting and wears you out, and it's humid, and the humidity is it too, and probably part of the issue for all of these contestants is that they're not properly hydrated going into it. So just like it's hard in this insane heat, in this crazy humidity, to stay hydrated enough. But there's just no way to gauge that, like Caleb looked fine, and then suddenly he collapses, but there's just no way.
Yeah.
You don't know how long it's going to take for them to, it seemed like it took them a disproportionately long time to find those balls.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just such a big surface area. I don't know how far down those balls are buried out there, but it did seem like everybody. I don't know if you needed to do it. It's just I don't think there was any way to predict that this was going to happen, other than to say maybe they did it at midday where the sun was really at its apex,
Right.
and it was really coming down on everybody. But you could speak so much to those conditions, Stephen. Just how unbearable is it? I saw that you tweeted tonight about how the conditions out there don't even translate to TV.
Yeah, it's true. You just like you see them struggling, you see them dragging, you see it's hot, and we've all been super hot in our lives, but just like there's a level where the adrenaline gets going. You're in this challenge, you're baking, and you don't even like realize how hot it is. And then like suddenly it hits you, and you're like, oh my god, like I'm dying out here. Like you've been sort of like worked up, trying to push through a challenge, and then suddenly it's just like you're just completely like it hits you, like you lose all your energy, you're sluggish. We certainly had, we had it was they were there in April. I think this is April for them or March, when it's basically like the hottest it can possibly be in Cambodia. We were there, 2 months later, and it was still insanely hot, easily over 100 degrees and so humid. And, it was like, we were just existing in that heat was painful. So the fact that these guys are out there, shirts off for an hour digging, I can't even imagine, like how difficult it must have been for them to go through. We had the endless discussion, like, is it better? Is the heat better or is the rain better? I don't know. I guess I'd probably take the heat. What would you say, heat or the rain?
Heat, no question.
Yeah, I take the heat too.
Not even close. You can go in the shade in the heat. If you don't have a tarp.
Caleb couldn't go in the shade.
Yeah. Stephen, let me float out sort of a wacky theory. You tell me if there's any legitimacy to this. Do you think that multiple players may have thrown in the towel during that challenge, looking at the reward, which is not that stellar of a reward? It was coffee and spices, things that you could obviously get by without. Do you think that multiple players on all of the tribes across the board was like, it's not worth it, I'm not going to kill myself here, I'll let the other teams do it? And maybe there were so many players out there that were just saying, okay, let me just go through the motions here, I'm not going to kill myself, that it just made the challenge last forever because all the teams weren't trying their hardest the entire time.
I bet that's probably true. I mean, I bet probably each team had a few people who were pushing themselves because they wanted to win and they cared about winning. But, I don't even think it's necessarily like a rational choice. Like, oh, yeah, like that prize is not worth my effort now. I more think it's like a diffusion of responsibility where you're like, I can just sort of sit here and maybe not kill myself. I'm dying. Yeah, and that's what Alicia was doing, right? When she was like kicking the sand around. Like, I mean, how ridiculous. That was so silly. Like, she was literally just like kicking sand. Like, there's no way the bag is on that top layer of sand that you're like kind of kicking.
Yeah, and especially once the big prize was won, especially once the Brains tribe had won, I wonder just how much that both the Brawn tribe and the Beauty tribe might have been just saying like, all right, come on, guys, just win for salt and pepper. It was like the biggest overexertion of energy for the least amount of reward to ultimately be winning for that second place challenge. I mean, I wonder, could a team have just thrown in the towel there?
I just don't think an entire team would. I think, these Survivor contestants, there's always some who are like super competitive, who are never going to give up like that.
I mean, just go back. Let's go back to Survivor Philippines when there's a reward challenge with sandwiches on the line, and after a stalemate of so long, Penner and Scoopin sort of negotiate this peace treaty where they say like, so what do you say? We just split the sandwiches? And Penner's and Scoopin is like, give us all your rice. And they did it. They negotiated a truce. They didn't finish out the challenge. I mean, could they have walked away from the challenge at the point where it comes down to second place? Like, what are we doing out here?
Yeah, and the other thing too is like if you're on day like 12 or whatever, a swap is coming soon. So why are you, like I could swap on to the Spices tribe and off of the No Spices tribe.
Yeah,
You really don't have.
I would stand up and say, Jeff, let's.
No, you would not.
I would do that. I would do that
in front of everybody. You'd be like,
I'm a good guy. I'd be the good guy.
No.
But everybody would love me for that. People would love me for that.
Yeah, you. Not Andrew Savage.
No,
Wimpy
Jeff
little
Probst would not
non-leader.
love me, but all the other contestants would love me for that. I would have saved Caleb for instead, kept him in the game.
Scott would not go for that. That's not a championship team move.
That is not a championship team move. You're right. He would not love me probably under any circumstances. All right. So you brought up you brought up well, let's talk through Caleb first, and then we'll talk Alicia because that leads into the second vote. All right. So I saw you tweet or responding on Twitter about this. The card that was put up on the screen about how Caleb has recovered and he is hoping to play the game again. Did you feel like that was signaling in some way?
Oh yeah, I totally did. I mean, the first you had that, and then the last words of his final words were, "I can't wait to play this again." I mean, I totally think they were like setting it up for him to return.
I agree.
Yeah, and you know, like I would want to see him. It's interesting actually. I was thinking about the Caleb edit because like he was getting a total hero edit throughout, and you often see. And again, like producers hate it when we talk about edits, which is why I want to do it so much. You often see, you know, the medevacs get these kind of like zero edit where like you don't really see their alliances, you don't really see their strategy because it doesn't ever play out. It doesn't really have a role or impact on the game. You know, you never saw Joe Dowdle making deals, but here we saw a lot of Caleb's alliances.
I knew he had deals going on with Sydney.
He did have Sydney, yeah, Spencer, the original Spencer. You know, because they never. But Caleb, we had an alliance with Ty. He has like a whole bromance thing with Ty. You know, he's got this other thing happening with Anna, and it's like then suddenly like boom, that it's all disappeared. It was so interesting how much time that he was given.
Well, I would love to hear from you, Steven, if we're going to sort of like play this out. How did Caleb's game ultimately, so Caleb is robbed of the chance to finish that game.
Yeah.
How do you think it ultimately would have played out had everything pushed forward? We know, okay, we can assume that still Alicia would be voted out at the second tribal council. Caleb would be continuing with the Beauty Tribe as part of the 6-person group, which is going to be split now into 2 tribes, presumably, next week. How do you think Caleb would move on from here?
Merge boot.
So he would be. So basically, that this medevac robbed him of another 6 days in the game.
Probably so. It's right. Like Caleb's the guy who's like he's a great athlete. Obviously, you know, got a lot of charm to him. Super compelling, and that's why he's not going to the end.
I could see him going a little bit further than just the typical merge boot because he's in the numbers and in power with the numbers. So you would presume that the Beauty Tribe, no matter what the configuration is going to be, you would think that they would have a numbers advantage in whatever group. Like unless there was some sort of like wacky thing where 5 people from the Beauty Tribe end up on one tribe and or like 4 and 2. And that he's somebody, okay, let's pick him off. But that would also mean that the Brains and the Brawn tribe were working together, which that seems unlikely. So I do think that he would probably be in the majority at the merge, especially if that Women's Alliance and him and Ty and even Nick, who it seems like they don't love, but I feel like that they could have stuck together. I think that they would have been able to. I think he would have gone further than the merge boot. I don't think he would win. But I do think that he would be at least a few more votes after the merge boot.
You know what? Like, I worry that he's an LJ, you know, which is the most heartbreaking thing to be.
Well, that's the biggest compliment you could give somebody.
No, you know, like the Beauty Tribe and BBB1 was, they really were all together. You know, they were one of the dominant tribes pre-merge, and then they kind of, you know, fell apart, and some sort of like goofy Braun guy ended up taking it on, and Rob, I'm going to tell you right now, I see the same thing happening this season. I think it's going to be Jason or Sydney.
Jason or Sydney, you feel like it? You're calling your shot as a winner?
The other 2 that I think have a possibility are Michelle and Anna, but not Michelle really even. Maybe Anna or Michelle. Those are the only other 2 I think have a possibility. But again, like or Ty. So my shot is not really called.
Okay, you've named half the people on the show.
5 people. One of those 5. Yeah. I thought I was
5-13.
going to come out here with a more. The thing is, all right. We'll get into. We'll talk about Jason in a little bit.
Well, let's start. Okay, so then let's get into Jason and let's start to talk through Alicia, because you mentioned how that really there was this altercation that happened during that first challenge, which has really been an ongoing story throughout the season, where she was kicking the dirt around or kicking the sand around and sort of being a cheerleader. And Scott and Jason, I'm not sure. I want to make sure I attribute the quotes properly, but saying like, keep being a cheerleader. That's all you're good at. And there was a shut the hell up. Basically, we do this right after the show. I don't have the exact quotes in front of me, but those were the things to that effect. I know people are very upset about the way that she was spoken to tonight, Stephen. Let's start to talk through the ballad of Alicia's final night on Survivor.
The what? The ballad.
The ballad of Alicia. Shut the F up and dig, I believe, was the quote, which is just only slightly better than dig, woman.
Here's the thing about Alicia. Like, I definitely think that Scott and Jason have treated her badly, and I think that they have been snappy with her and dismissive of her and rude to her, But Alicia kind of seems pretty annoying too. She
watch your mouth, Steven.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like the kicking the sand thing, like right after the challenge, they go back to camp. Who's the one who starts the altercation? Alicia is. She starts in on Scott about something he said. And, I don't think anyone is behaving well. I don't think Scott and Jason are behaving well, and I don't think Alicia is behaving well. And I'm going to write about this in my blog, but, like, I think you see Scott and Jason snapping at her a lot. And, like, even today, like, Jason, like, snapped at her and, like, removed himself from the situation, right? He gets up and walks away because he's like, I'm behaving badly. And I myself have been on certain Survivor tribes with people who are infuriating, and they come all like Sierra Reed and Abby Maria.
With me, your dad.
Yeah, and they come off, and especially Sierra comes off as like this like belittled underdog because you only see when people get fed up and snap at her. You don't see the other 23 hours of the day when she's infuriating, because that doesn't translate as well to television, just like the little annoyances that add up over the course of 9 days. And so you just see, and I'm not excusing the way Scott and Alicia are behaving, because it's bad as people and it's bad as
Condemn them, Stephen. Condemn them.
Yeah, all right. I think it's bad humanity, right, to just be so nasty, to not give her a name, to belittle her constantly.
Disavow them, Stephen.
Yeah. And it's bad strategy, because what if they get to a swap or a merge? What if they don't lose?
Well, you didn't say I disavow. Do you disavow them or not?
I do disavow them.
Okay.
I've disavowed them previously. I tweeted out a disavowal. I've always years ago when they gave me their support, I disavow them. They're all bad, and that's the thing about Survivor. It's like everyone is on their worst behavior.
Yeah. No, those guys did a really bad job with Alicia. That I have no doubt Alicia is annoying. Those guys did a bad job with how they handle it. Again, these people don't come to me for Survivor training before they go out there. I think that this is the way you have to handle this person on Survivor because you're going to come off looking really bad, and I know so many people are upset with Scott and Jason tonight. You have to be about Alicia that you have to make her look bad. You can't be letting you be the one who looks bad, because people are always going to feel bad for the person that got picked on, who's the bully. You have to sort of handle Alicia like, Alicia, God love her. You have to sort of like just like let it be, like say like she's doing her best out there, but
you know what? I want you to go back on Survivor with Abby Maria, and I want you to maintain that Abby just doing her best out here, just a character. Yeah, it's just not possible. And you have that quote from Scott where he's like, "We're trying to help. We really are." And it's so funny. Like, we said the same thing about Abby so many times, where like people would like literally try to have these interventions with her and be like, "Abby, like, stop doing the things you're doing." And then suddenly like people are being mean to Abby and not handling her well, and it's like, ah!
Yeah, you see, they have to be like, and again, this is not either of their personalities. It's hard. When you play professional basketball, like this approach does not work. You can't be sort of like the thing that really helped us get over the hump in that challenge. I think it has to be those words of encouragement from Alicia. I think that she really, when she kicked that dirt around in the course, I think that really just inspired our team to win.
Yeah, no, look, I agree that that's the way to play it. Like
Yeah.
in a vacuum, as a great strategic play, that is the correct move.
And a TV play, a media play. That's more so than a gameplay.
I wonder though if like they in that moment think like we're gonna come off so right, and Alicia's gonna watch this back, because you don't know, like and especially when you're in your own head, you only see things from your perspective. Everyone is the hero of their own story, Rob.
Everybody's the hero, and the people who are out there on the reality show always think the person that is annoying to them will be annoying to the viewer at home. When
exactly.
Always, 100% of the time, the person who is the outcast, the person who's being picked on, the person who's being bullied, that is always the person that the audience will identify with. And the audience is always going to be on the side of that person. And unfortunately for Jason and Scott, that they aren't able to realize that, and they also do a terrible job. I also disavow their treatment tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about so it was a weird night also in terms of the edit. I was like, are we going to get a second medevac from the game, because we didn't have a lot of time left, and ultimately we had the second challenge. Did you think that was a throw of that challenge for the Braun tribe there, knowing that the swap was around the corner?
I definitely thought that I don't know if it was a full throw, but I think they were going to like let Alicia hang herself, basically. I think that they were going to sort of like give her enough, just basically like they weren't going to help her out. If she could pull it out, like then she deserves to be there. But if she can't, then she's going home, and that's on her. And so I think it's like a half throw. Don't you agree?
Similar to the Bion tribe on the Monica vote?
Exactly. That is exactly right. The Bion tribe with Monica. Like, yeah, fine. If we lose, that's great. But if we don't lose, like, that's fine too. And I think it's the right move for them, and if anything, maybe they should have more aggressively thrown, right? Because Jason and Scott, like Alicia literally says to them before the challenge, I can't wait till a swap or a merge to turn on you.
Yeah.
And like when someone says that to you, you're like, well, maybe we'll just take this chance to vote you out.
Yeah, I mean, strategically, those guys did the correct thing strategically. I'm not sure if the other I don't know if there's any negative repercussions in terms of strategically. There will be negative repercussions in terms of social media and how they're perceived going forward. But I don't know if there's any I'm not sure if the other teams overheard any of the things that they said. Like, they could just move on, merge or swap after this and say, oh my God, you have no idea, Alicia was so annoying, and nobody will have any ill feelings towards them.
I don't even think in terms of social media. Like, I think with it's always the last thing people see. It's like, I think people are outraged now, but if in the next 6 days Scott and Jason are awesome and kind, and one thing totally can switch your opinion. If the last thing we'd seen of Jason was him being supportive and helpful to Sydney, suddenly we'd be like, wow, Jason is the nicest human, and we were also wrong about him.
It's a good point. While Steven and I have both disavowed the treatment of Scott and Jason, it was almost anti-Robin Steven behavior, you could even say, that they both did against Alicia. They do have, I will say that they do have a second chance, much like Stephen Fishbeck did. They do have a second chance, because now Alicia is gone. She's gone. She's not on the jury.
Exactly.
They have a chance to show us how they behave with the other players in the game. So when they get to emerge and say they're on a tribe with Michelle, how do they treat her? They're on a tribe with Aubrey. How do they react to her? So I think they do have a second chance to perhaps make an impression on this audience.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's on the other players and it's on the audience. I mean, I actually think maybe one of the worst things they did was at the challenge when they were sort of dismissive of Alicia. After they lost the immunity challenge and Alicia sort of like going off, and then they're like, there she is again, or like she wasn't even going off, right? She just said, I screwed up, and I thought that was just, again, like that was like she just. Alicia was maybe being self-pitying for a second, and then they like jumped down her throat, and I think
Right.
that probably was representative of both
She was
both
a
sides of that.
scapegoat on that tribe. They had to have somebody to blame. She was just sort of like the family dog that was getting kicked around. Not that we do that to our dog, and we never have. But
Reyes.
I disavow dog kicking as
Yeah.
well. But she was just the person who was just like the punching bag on that tribe. And now that she's gone, and now they have nobody else, they don't have her to blame anymore. So anything that happens from now on is going to be on those guys. It's that scapegoat is gone.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I feel bad for Alicia too, because I do think that so much of how you act is in life and in the game is determined by how the people act around you. So the fact that she didn't even fit in from the start, we talked about this before. Had Alicia been on the beauty tribe, not only would she maybe have done better, but I think she would have behaved differently.
Yeah. Let's talk about it from the Alicia perspective. I know there's a lot of sympathy right now. A lot of people are on her side. Do you have anything to say in the positive or in the negative about the way that she played these last 3 days of her game?
I mean, I think she definitely, she had a lot of heart. I think she worked hard when she needed to. She really pushed herself to start that fire. She hustled with Sydney. When Jen came to her, she jumped on board with Jen. I think she was someone who never had a shot with this group, but still left at every opportunity she could to improve herself. Maybe temperamentally she was just never, she stirred up confrontations when she didn't need to, probably. She certainly participated in them. Apparently Jeff said she was on Braun because what did he say? Like, why did Jeff say she was?
You're on Braun because we know that you don't take any crap from people. You don't take any lip, which I thought was ironic.
Brawny comment. Yeah.
You don't take any lip except from the tattoo artist who tattoos the inside of her lip. From that person, she does take lip.
Yeah. Would you say that's a quality of brawn?
I guess so.
Is it? That's brawn? What is?
Stood up to. I mean, she did not back down to a 7 foot tall,
but that's
huge hulking guy.
I
would back down.
Guts. That's like the Guts tribe, Yeah. Like that's like not the brawn. Like brawn is a word with a meaning. It has a definition.
Right. If Scott said any of those things to me, I probably would have just rolled up into a ball and cried.
That's
so
like
Alicia
the foolhardy courage tribe. Maybe like courage. Maybe that's the next season, the Wizard of Oz season.
Yes, brains versus heart versus courage.
Yeah.
That's great. I love it. Okay. So then, Stephen, just hypothetically, throwing it out there, for Sydney, was there any sense in forcing a 2-2 tie with Alicia?
Terrible.
Okay.
I think Sydney's coming off really well, but it was pretty funny when Alicia was like, "You go get him, Sid." Like she gave her like empowering farewell, and then Sydney was like, "Yep, peace. Yep, got it."
I did think that she was a little bit when Jeff was asking like, "We could do tribal right now if you guys want," and Scott's like, "Yo," Jason's like, "Yo," and Sydney's like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
I felt like she's a little sheepish about it.
Good for Alicia though for not agreeing to that. For not pulling the Posley.
Yeah. So good for her. But did you feel like that Jeff was game to do it?
Yeah, he just had a lot. He's like, we got the drama for this episode. We're good.
Yeah, I think Jeff is like, boy, I know it's like 8:50 right now. We could really save some time if we just did tribal council right now. Like, come here, Alicia. Let me give you a neck rub. We could do this right here, right now.
This has got to be the first time ever that there was no strategy at camp between the challenge and tribal council.
I will say, well, even going back to Survivor Cambodia, where it was like that they left right from the challenge, like this is probably the first time that they went back to camp and we didn't see
didn't show
it. There have been other times that they've gone directly from the challenge to tribal, but this is the first time that we didn't see a second of the footage.
Yeah.
What do you think went on back there? What do you think that they were doing back at camp?
Do you think Alicia tried? Do you think she like went to Sydney and was like, this is our shot?
I suspect not. I suspect that she probably, and we'll ask her in the exit interview tomorrow.
They probably just hung out by the shelter.
Yeah, she was probably like, well, you know what? If you guys are all going to vote me out, screw you. I'm just gonna, hang out.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? Maybe she did. Maybe she scrambled like a mofo. But I sense that we would have seen something if she did.
And even at tribal council, like everyone was kind of like, yeah, we're done. And I appreciated that Jeff was like, it's you tonight, Alicia, right?
Yeah, Jeff didn't even try to sell that there was like a possibility of somebody else.
Yeah.
Is Alicia an all-star, Steven?
We're all stars, probably.
We're all.
But on a
Right,
more
yeah.
literal level, probably not.
She has a lot of fans. There's a lot of support.
I really like. You know what? I was rooting for Alicia. I thought she was going to be the person who like undid the, like the glue in the ointment, the fly in the ointment for.
Yeah, no, she did. She was
Jason
sort
and
of being
Sydney.
set up to get that edit of that. Okay, just like when those guys are saying to her, you are gone, and it did seem like it was sort of a little bit like a Chekhov's threat to her. That it was going to be at some point she was going to come back and be the undoing of these guys.
Yeah, I thought it was like an Aaron Lobdell thing, where like Alicia's gonna like get to the end and kind of be there at the finale. But that confessional from Jason, where he got to explain the reason he was so mean to Alicia was to inspire his daughters at home, didn't really work for me. But B, he's making it to the end, and that even maybe like he's definitely getting to the end in my mind based on that quote. Because like when someone is kind of a bullyish jerk and you give them the chance to explain why they're a bullyish jerk, and it's like to inspire their like daughters and teach them to be strong, like that to me is we're trying to mitigate this for this guy is making it to the end and maybe even winning. What do you think, Rob? Winners edit?
I did not see that same winner's edit. I will look for that. I feel like that Jason is a fascinating character on the show, and I know that a lot of people disagree with me about this, but I am glad that he is on the show because I think that he is bringing a lot of interest to this season. I know a lot of people dislike him, and even though I've disavowed his behavior tonight, I do think that he is an interesting strategic figure moving forward, and it'll be interesting to see how much the other teams want to work with him moving forward. So I don't think he's in a great spot, but we have always talked about the intentional Matt Singh. Will these guys be a target once we get into the two tribes?
No, I think Ron is in a great place strategically. I think we've seen a lot of fractions on the other two tribes that are ready to explode, certainly on the Brains tribe. And then on the Beauty tribe today, you saw with Ty saying, well, now it's like the girls versus us. Like I think maybe some of us assumed that he had a bond with the girls based on like a few scenes in that first episode, but he doesn't seem to think so. And I'm willing to say that I think Jason's going to be a finalist so much that I'm willing to put the knowing his know-it-alls trophy on the line. Rob, are you willing to accept that as a bet, or is that not that interesting, or should we wait till
it's extremely interesting to me. I will take that bet for a variety of reasons. One, I have nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. Are you? Yeah.
And two, just mathematically, it's a great. That there's 13 people left in the game. A guy with a big target on his back. I feel like if you're saying he's going to be in the final
based on that confessional where he talked about his daughters and that's why he's a bully, I'm saying he's making it to the end.
Steven's the best. Know-it-all. Severe gastrointestinal distress won't affect him at all because Steven's the best.
This isn't the song I know.
The scene with the stick made us all lol because Steven's the best.
That's the 2016 version.
Oh my God, I much prefer the 2015 version.
Steven, I wouldn't normally do this. And maybe this makes me not the knowingest know-it-all. I feel like you've made such a lopsided bet that you have picked one person to go to the final three.
Yeah,
all I've had to do is bet that you're wrong.
Right.
Really, I should be giving you odds or something.
Or you should have. It should be a competition between my horse and your horse.
Yeah. And so you want me to pick a winner's edit person, and then go head to head?
We don't need to work this out right now. We can finesse the details. But do you have someone who you think is going to do better than Jason?
Better than Jason in a head to head. Boy, I don't know off the top.
No, we can talk about it.
Yeah, but but all right. So the die is cast.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's my pony.
Yeah, we have until the end of the show to finesse this. Okay, let's take some questions. Steven, why don't you get us kicked off with one from David Silverberg?
I don't even see the oh, there it is. Daniel Silverberg wants to know, Steven, you talk a lot about the winner's edit. Is there such a thing as a medevac edit? This is something we were just talking about at the start of the show. Caleb kind of getting an unusual edit for a medevac because medevacs often get that sort of strategic-less edit. Maybe that's not true, actually. Certainly Bruce had a lot of strategy. Penner had a lot of strategy in 16.
Yeah, I mean, but Penner was involved in a big, kerfuffle early on. That third episode of that season where he fights with Suri is one of my favorite episodes of the show of all time. I think that, sometimes people are just involved in things. I mean, to say that there's a medevac edit, it would be like, boy, there's nothing going on with this person, but we're seeing a lot of them. I feel like that maybe what happened with Caleb might be a medevac edit, because Caleb did not go to tribal council once. I mean, he really got a lot of airtime for a guy who was not involved in any sort of strategic decision other than the women bringing him in and saying, hey, like, he was involved in basically this friendship with Ty, and we saw a lot, and it was good TV, but that for Caleb, I mean, there was no part of the story that was a payoff to, we didn't need to see the women bringing Caleb into the tribe because they were never going to go to a tribal council with him.
Yeah, but I don't know. Again, like some medevacs, you don't see a lot of them. And I think, and this is where the producer's point comes into play, where they show the things that happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I do think that people who make it to the end, and certainly the winners, get more crafted edits than most people. But for the most part, they show the things that happen. They're going to show it when people are heroic, and they're going to show it when they're louds. And,
Papa Smurf did not get a lot of airtime before his medevac.
Was he? Yeah.
Mike Barassi did not get a lot of airtime before.
Terry got some airtime. Terry had a kind of like similar edit to Caleb, maybe a little bit less airtime, where he, was a force. He had that like conversation with Abby on the beach. You saw him being sort of inspirational. He talked to Spencer, but then kind of just wasn't really a part of the driving strategy of the season. But he also wasn't a part of the driving strategy of the season in real life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that what we're looking for is when they're showing us people, when they could be showing us other things, but they're showing us people for a certain reason that doesn't have anything to do, that's not critical information that we need to know.
Yeah.
And maybe this is less having to do with the injury, but more setting up potentially if they want Caleb to return. They really liked what they were getting from him out there. They want to make sure that we have something, enough meat to sink our teeth into to see him want to come back.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree. That it's they liked him as a character, and maybe there's a level to which they want to present him as a compelling character to who's worth seeing again in the future.
Okay, let's take one from Kelly, or from Kerry, who said, "Is anyone surprised at how much they'll miss Beast Mode?" I guess this is
really a
for
question
the
for
viewers.
you.
Steven, have you been surprised at how much you will miss Beast Mode Cowboy?
Well, as you know, I don't have any history, Rob, so this is really for you.
Yeah, well, I would say that I probably completely, as per usual, I was pretty wrong with. I really thought that Beast Mode Cowboy Caleb was going to come into this season and was going to have like a John Rocker type run. I really thought that he was going to be a caustic personality. I thought that he was not going to get along with his tribe. I thought that he was going to be prickly and really try to assert his will. He was none of those things, and people, almost universally have really enjoyed watching him on this season. So I completely got him wrong in my prognostication of the season. He was on his best behavior. He was on his absolute best behavior, and you'd be hard pressed to say something negative about him in this season.
Yeah, I thought I don't have any motivation. I mean, any history with him. I don't have any biases or past awareness of him. But I loved him. I was looking forward to him playing. I thought he brought a lot of like great energy and spirit. I was excited to see him continue.
Okay. All right. Let's take another question.
Johnny Horseman wants to know: due to their inability to play the social game, is it safe to say that Scott and Jason cannot win? What do you think, Rob?
I would say that I believe Scott cannot win. Jason is a different story. Again, with Jason, we have seen him be pretty horrible to one person. We have not seen him be, and that's what I've said in talking about Jason, that all of these things that he has done and said have been all directed at one person. Where as we go along, just to compare him to Russell Hantz talks about like these dumbass girls, this person, like he's mean about a number of different people.
Right.
We don't hear Jason talking negatively about Sydney or Jennifer or even Darnell. So that while I have disavowed everything he said about Alicia, I need to see him be that way to multiple people before we could say that he cannot win the game. Once we see this as a pattern, then he cannot win.
And the other thing is, to say he's like incapable of playing the social game, he's been in the driver's seat for, Braun Tribe has gone to tribal council, 3 out of the 4 tribal councils, and Jason has been not just in the majority alliance, but probably the key decision maker, if not, at least one of the key decision makers every single time. So he's obviously doing something right socially, right? Like he's being a jerk, and there's a lot of bad repercussions for that. But the social game comes down to building and maintaining alliances, and he's doing that.
Mm-hmm. Sydney has not been saying about Jason. He's getting on my last nerve. I think that Jennifer may have felt like
Jennifer did say that.
She didn't love him.
Yeah.
She was closer with Scott, but I don't think that she felt like that he was terribly disrespecting her. And maybe I'm wrong about that.
Yeah. I don't know if he's getting the winners edit, but I do think he's getting like the loser at the ends edit.
You could certainly envision that scenario. So
yeah.
I would buy your final 3 more than I would buy that he was the winner. And Scott, I don't believe that he has enough game to get to the final 3. Yeah. And too big of a target once we get to the merge.
Superior Hamid wants to know, second chance is merged at 13. Do you think next week is a swap or a merge?
I think we gotta go to a swap here. I don't think we're gonna merge on episode 5.
Yeah, it's a swap.
Swap. Okay, we're going to go down to 2 tribes, one with 7, one with 6. Ground Scarecrow wants to know, how would you rank this medevac compared to
question.
others that we've had? Steven, do you have a shorthand listing of your rankings of medevacs?
I thought this is, you know what, like, it's hard to remember the scoop in medevac in context. This has got to be, other than that, this has got to be the scariest moment, right? Just with so many people collapsing, that shot where we see the entire production crew racing around, how intense is that? They really just it wasn't even like they pulled back the curtain. It was like they dropped the curtain because they couldn't hold it because they were giving water to Caleb, just the intensity of that moment. I thought this was great. I thought this has got to be, certainly top 2 with the Scoopin' one just being this, iconic reality TV moment.
Yeah, I would say the Scoopin' one was probably more dramatic. I think that the Scoopin' one, the Scoopin' thing was national news. Of course, I'm talking about season 2. The Scoopin' thing is national news, and I think that it was just
took me a minute.
Headline, that was literally on the news.
Yeah.
You will not turn on your local 11 o'clock news, and they will not be talking about the number of medevacs on.
And that had to be the first time that ever happened too, right? Where something
and this was for the first time we were really seeing the reality of the show, and we were really seeing medical come out. So I think that was because we didn't know what could happen here. We've seen other medevac scenarios, and this was to a greater degree with everybody going down at once and seeing so much of it. So we got to see what an emergency really looks like on Survivor, but I think that the first one was probably just more shocking to our system, and we didn't know what was going to happen.
Yes, I totally agree with that. But I mean, among the other medevacs, this has got to be, and I think Russell Swan's one certainly was for a moment quite scary, but this really eclipses that, right? I think this eclipses the Russell Swan one. I don't think that's compared to that. This is.
Yeah. I again with the Russell Swan one, it was really Jeff's reaction to that, where it's like Jeff thought that Russell Swan had died at that moment. He was dying. I think that I don't know if maybe because we know Caleb is on Twitter and stuff like that, we know he is not, that nothing serious has happened to him. So I don't know if that takes.
You're probably right. That does probably help make abate the impact.
But it was hugely dramatic. I mean, we're nitpicking here. All right.
And then, of course, the Colton one pulled at all of our heartstrings.
Yes. All right. We got another question, Steven.
John Clark wants to know, in addition to water, should Neil give them free ice cream after the challenge?
Yes. Should Neil provide 3 Twins ice cream to all the contestants after the show?
Sure. And to us.
All right. What about Dave22XX? When Caleb inevitably returns, will Jeff refer to him as last name Reynolds, or is that name already taken in Survivor lore?
Man, what a great the Reynolds versus Reynolds season. Who would not want to watch that?
Yeah, I think that'd be great because really, if it was Reynolds that was in that carnival game, he would have wrapped that up quicker. Caleb wouldn't have had to be medevaced from the game.
Yeah, gosh, wow, that would really be a. I've always wanted Reynolds to come back. Like he was one of my favorites that season.
Yeah, I'm surprised that he never got the call, but I think that he was on an All-Star season, and I think that it's maybe for season 36, fans versus favorites too.
I
Great.
heard a rumor that he'd gotten a call and like wasn't interested, which is kind of mind-boggling to me. But everyone always says that they got a call and weren't interested when they didn't get a call. So like that's a highly who knows? It doesn't mean anything.
All right, let's do a few more questions.
Allison Snyder wants to know, do you think it's going to be Brain versus Beauty, or are new alliances going to come together? Who would you like to see in an alliance together? That's a fun question, Rob.
Okay, this will be very interesting to see where if there is, and again, we go back to this scenario that we've had, like in the going back to Philippines, where do the Brains and the Beauty tribe both at 5? Do they look at each other as they are the superpowers, and really that Brawn tribe is in the middle? Are they the spoilers, and they're going to have to pick a side ultimately? And let's see how they now. Is there some way to fairly divide it? Do you think that they'll keep them the same and just send like 2 Brawn and one Brawn to the other, or do you think that they'll completely swap everybody out?
I think they'll do a full swap. I think they got to do the full random swap.
I agree. In Philippines, they did basically. They sent just Malcolm to one tribe and Denise to one tribe.
There were 2 of them, and they got whittled down to nothing, and that had been like a clean sweep. So that was kind of like fitting in its way. But here, Brains did lose one. It's not the same. There's 3 people on Braun now, not 2. It's just not the same.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll see ultimately, which group is going to want to work with Braun. I mean, really, where it's going to be pretty interesting. You get the sense that even though Nick is a little bit on the outs, I feel like that he probably would be best served to try to stay loyal to Beauty right now. Whereas it's that Brains tribe that has that huge divide, and Peter being the swing vote. So if it ends up with like 2 or 3 of the Brains with some of the Braun people, I think that's going to be the much more explosive group.
I'm really happy. I know Peter got a lot of flack last week for being for how arrogant he came off. But I like Peter. I like him as a character. I think he's a fun character on TV. He's obviously great with the carnival games. So I hope this gives him a reprieve.
Okay, we'll see what happens with Peter. Blade Blur X. For the most obvious boot in a long time, am I the only one who wished we could have seen everyone's confessionals? What's the deal today of hiding confessionals of the result when it's as clear as day?
I think this was just a time thing. I think there was just so much happening this episode. And one thing I loved about this episode was how much the producers let it play out. We really saw that thing unfold. They didn't jump to a result. They didn't whitewash the kind of mad scramble of it. I just thought they really kind of let it happen. But anyway, I didn't need to see Scott saying it's Alicia.
Well, did they say it's Alicia, or did they say things that probably Scott and Jason today might be glad they didn't show?
Yeah. No, look, I mean, I kind of wanted to see more confessionals from the Beauty tribe about. Yeah. But it's an interesting question though because I think we all want to see get in people's heads as much as possible.
Okay. All right. What about Austin Rhodes? Do you guys think that the show is better when? Do you guys think that the show is better when there's a medevac? I don't. Steven, do you like the show better when there's a medevac?
I think everyone wants to see the game play out as much as possible. I think everyone, right? Everyone wants to see the strategy.
Yeah. What am I, a sadist?
Golly G Weather Reports wants to know, what do you guys think about Julia so far? Playing a very quiet game, but very strong, I feel like.
Yeah, really another night. No real confessional for her. Anything of note from Julia?
No. Did any of the Beauty girls talk? Maybe Anna said something?
Yeah. I will say, this could be a hot take. Best Survivor Julia of all time.
Are there others?
There are others. Okay.
Was that the one on caramel, the vanilla?
Yeah.
Was that she was?
All right, and Matt the Golem, last question. Do you think that Scott and Kyle didn't really throw the immunity challenge, but they left Alicia's fate in her own hands? The old, if she dies, she dies.
Well, that's what I was saying before. I totally think that. Don't you think that?
I have to go back and I have to rewatch it when I go and do my rewatch to see what the level of exertion is on those people.
She turns to them and is like, "Can we sub out?" And they're like, "No."
Yeah. So We'll see. Nobody hit the opposite target. That's the best I could say for those guys right now. Steven, who got the fishy tonight?
I mean, you know.
Is it Jason?
No, it's Dr. Joe. My God.
Dr.
The man
Joe.
saves 3 people's lives. I think that's fishy worthy.
Wow. Okay. So that's always when you go off the board. That's always pretty wild. That's
Dr.
Really,
Joe come on. How great is Dr. Joe?
he's really great. He's really great.
He's really great.
Stephen, when you were out there, did they tell you to pay careful attention to like being extra hydrated?
Yes.
Or yeah.
Yeah, they were definitely concerned, and watching this now, it makes sense. But certainly there was a sense of like, stay hydrated as much as you possibly can out here, because it's like, it is the heat, but it's also the humidity that'll get you. And the reason that it's the humidity is that you don't realize how dehydrated you're getting in the humidity, because you're like you feel moist all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry for anyone who.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Steven, is there a hashtag for this episode of the podcast?
What about Wizard of Oz season?
Wizard of Oz season or hashtag disavow?
Hashtag disavow.
Okay. All right, guys, because we have disavowed that very negative behavior, which we did not care to see, which has no place on Survivor.
No.
You can quote me on that.
Quote me on that too.
Yeah. All right. Quote Stephen Fishback as well. If you could put him as a sub quote. He subtweeted me. Yeah. All right. Stephen is going to have his People blog. You can check that out as well on Thursday, or probably up in about like 10 minutes or something like that.
I'm hoping to have it up tonight.
Yeah. Okay. So follow Stephen Fishback on Twitter. He is at Stephen Fishback, of course. Big Thursday coming up. We will have exit interviews with both players eliminated from the game tonight. We'll have that up for you guys by probably, I usually get those up about by 11 my time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Do not miss those. Then I will be speaking with Aris for the episode recap and your voicemails with Jessica Lees. Get those voicemails in as well. robbinswebsite.com/voicemail or 323-282-RHAP. Steven, any final thoughts?
No. What an episode. What an episode.
What an episode. Very excited about the swap.
Good season. We really like so far. I mean, it's hard because maybe it all falls apart, but so far it's a really good season.
So far, so good. Tonight was definitely much more drama than strategy, but hopefully we get back on the strategic.
I thought it was fine. I mean, if the guys did kind of throw, and you know what, like, if Alicia had to go in a kind of like this kind of episode, if they hadn't been a midovac, it could have been a really straightforward, dull episode with like Braun loses the immunity challenge, then it's obviously Alicia. Like, so this was the blaze of glory for her to go out in.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, if she was gonna go, if she was a strategic non-factor, I'm okay with that. I just wish she didn't have to take that kind of abuse out the door, Steven.
I concur. I disavow.
We're on the same page. We are completely on the same page on this.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we can't say that. Keep saying the same thing over and over again. So much disavowing. All right. Steven, I will talk to you next Wednesday night. Looking forward to it. Have a good one, everybody. Take care.
Good night, everybody.